Okay, so we're starting our fifth video. This is about this is continuing with probability, but we talked about sample space before, and what we now have to do is we have to talk about how to no, there's simple probabilities, and there's the basics of probabilities. That's our next job. So here comes our white piece of paper, and I'm about to start our usual fashion of picking the number 2 pencil and going from there. So it's our fifth video. We're talking about, it has to do with probability. This is the basics of probability, and we talked about sample space and experiments. So let's get back into that again. Here's the experiment that I want to deal with right now in this video, which is a simple experiment. And what it is that we're rolling one die. We're rolling one die. And what are all the possibilities with rolling one die? Okay, so the sample space is, we talked about that before. The sample space of this experiment is going to be the 6 possible things can happen. You can either get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a 6 rolling that one die on the table. So that's our sample space. We talked about a sample space. Now, here we go into that. We're launching into simple probability. What is the probability? I'll start with a question. What is the probability of rolling a 2? Okay, now this is basic probability, but it's going to be pretty simple, but it's very important, of rolling a 2. So the probability is going to be, the answer is going to be a fraction. There's going to be a numerator and a denominator. The denominator will always be the amount of elements, right over here, count up all your elements in your sample space, and that's what's going to be your denominator of a probability. So there's a total of 6, and that's going to be what's in the inside, as that's going to be your denominator of your probability. So the total amount of there's a fancy name for them, simple events, but for our purposes you just have to know how many possibilities are there in the sample space. It's 6, and how many of those are going to be successfully rolling a 2? Only one of them. You roll a 1, that's no good. 3, 4, 5, 6, no good. The only thing that is good for us is rolling a 2. So there's only one of those simple events that's going to be good for us out of 6, which is going to be that's the answer. That's the probability of rolling a 2. It's that simple. 1 out of 6. Let me ask you a series of questions that you can hopefully be able to answer yourselves. I'm going to write them down. I'll tell you them what they are, but I don't want to give the answers yet. The second question coming, there's obviously a relatively simple, straightforward. What's the probability of rolling an even number? An even number. That's question number 2. Okay, the next question is, what's the probability of rolling a 3? Here we are, rolling a 3 or higher. A 3 or higher. Each of those are going to have a denominator of 6, because the total amount of possibilities when you're rolling one die on the table are 6. So your denominator you already know. It's just a question of you figuring out what your numerator is. Next question. All of this is very fundamental. What's the probability of rolling 1 through 6? In other words, you win the game if you roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. What's the probability of that happening? 1 through 6. Next question. What's the probability of rolling a 0? A legitimate question. What's the probability of rolling a 0? And finally, when we finish this, I want to ask a question that I'm going to put a little bit apart from the others. And that is a question, a yes or no question. Is 1.25 a probability? It's just a yes or no question. Yes or no. Okay, so now let's go through. We already answered the first question. It's 1 out of 6. The second question, of probability of rolling an even number. All right, the denominator is going to be 6. We already talked about that. There's only 6 possibilities when you roll that one die on the table and you look at it face up and you look at what it says. What's the probability of getting an even number? Well, if you will win this game, you will win your game if you get a 2, that's even, or a 4, that's even, or a 6, that's even. So there's 3 chances out of the 6 of winning this game, of getting an even number. What do you put on your answer sheet if you have such a question? You don't put 3 out of 6. You have to reduce the fraction. You write 1/2. That is the final answer to this question. Problem C. What's the probability of rolling a 3 or higher? Well, you don't win if you get a 1. You don't win if you get a 2, but if 3 you win, 4 you win, 5 you win, 6 you win. So out of 6, 4 of those are good. The 3 is good, you win. The 4 is good, the 5 is good, and so is the 6. So 4 out of 6 are good. What do you have to do whenever you're dealing with probability? Whenever you can reduce, you must reduce. So the final answer you would put down on your answer sheet would be 2 out of 3. Now here comes 2 special cases. D. What's the probability of rolling a 1 through 6? Well, there's 6 things that can happen when you roll a die on the table. And you win if you get a 1, you win if you get a 2, if you get a 3, 4, 5, or 6, you win no matter what you roll, you win. Okay, a little glitch there. I got to bring this back up. Bear with me for a second. 1 second. Here we go. Hopefully we will bring this back up. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Bear with me. Now, back to our question. If you get a 1, you win. If you get a 2, you get a 3 or 4, 5, or 6. All of them you win. So there's a 6 out of 6 chance you win. It's a perfect situation, a perfect game. And what's that probability called? You have a probability of 1. And finally, what's the chances of rolling this die on the table and you getting a 0? You look at it face up and you get 0. The answer for that is that there's a 0 out of 6 chance of that happening. And therefore, there is a 0 problem. There's not a divide by 0. There's the zeros in the numerator. So there's a 0 chance of that happening. So what is the gamut of all probabilities? It's between 0 and, I'll get back to that question in a second. Let me go to question F. Is 1.25 a probability, yes or no? The answer is no, because a probability can only go up to 1. It could be 0. It could be a 0 chance of something happening. And there could be a full 1 chance of something. That's 100% is going to happen. That would be the 6 out of 6 win in the case number in question D. But that's all it can go. It can't go further than 1, and it can't go less than 0. That is the full gamut of probability. 0 is not included, and 1 is included. And that is the fundamentals and the beginning touches of probability. And that's all that I wanted to do in this short video. The videos stay relatively short. Okay, I'm going to take a look at this and try to sign off. And we will go from there. Okay, I go here. 1 second. Studio.